Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Wednesday Ether Diver stream. Today we are looking at MiniFreak V. I almost just exited out of the stream, which would have been disastrous, but also maybe a little bit funny. So as I mentioned in the description, we got Black Friday sales are about to start. Some have already started. Obviously, Christmas is coming up. So this is, I know, a time of year where people buy a lot of new gear, a lot of new synthesizers, software, things like that. And so I thought, well, I don't want to contribute to your consumerism. If you are in the market for a new synth, so I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to sell anyone anything. I am definitely not affiliated. There's no affiliate links that you'll find on this. I do not get a kickback from any of this. This is not sponsored. I am not trying to sell you anything. If anything, maybe I'll convince you that you don't need the fucking thing because you already got something else that's just as good or better. But yeah, so the point of this is not to fuel your gas. It's to satisfy your curiosity, and if you're on the fence about something, you've already decided that maybe it's time to add to your collection and you want some more data about this versus that. Hopefully this will help with that, but again, if you're happy with where you're at, please don't let me sell you anything. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I don't make anything if I do sell you something, so why would I do that? I do love synthesizers though, that's why I do it. So, as you are presumably aware, the MiniFreak V is the software version of the Arturia MiniFreak, which is the big brother of the Arturia MicroFreak, which I have done several streams on before, and let's go ahead and get this on screen here. I've done several streams on it before, and the MicroFreak, that is, and so I thought it'd be good to do one on the MiniFreak. I don't have the hardware version of the MiniFreak, and also all my hardware synthesizers are packed up at the moment. I'm moving in literally 2 days, so wish me luck on that. But it seemed like a good opportunity then to look at the these software synthesizers that I do have, and particularly this one, which is as I mentioned, it's a big brother to the MicroFreak, which is one of my favorite synthesizers of all time. So, without further ado, let's see if we can start with a new preset. We'll just kind of go through the. I'll do a quick tour, look at everything, basically, look at the layout of this, and then we will move on to talk about how it compares to MicroFreak, how it compares to some other soft synths. Particularly what I want to talk about is how it compares to Pigments, another Arturia soft synth, because if you're in the market right now to buy some new soft synths and you don't already have Pigments, then why you might want that versus this, or maybe why you would prefer this, things like that. My understanding is everything that I'm going to say about the MiniFreak V is also true about the hardware version. One notable difference is the hardware version does have analog filters, one for each voice, 6-voice poly. And this has modeled analog. This is digital filters, but modeled after the same analog filters that are in the hardware version of it. So that's really the main difference, other than it being software versus hardware. But other than that, it's supposed to be, I believe, a 1-to-1 equivalent to everything that you can do on the MiniFreak. Okay, so the MicroFreak. I realize it's weird to start talking about a different synth before, but that's sort of where I come from. So let's just, real quickly, MicroFreak, which was the predecessor to this, is a mono/paraphonic hardware synth that uses a digital oscillator slash synth voice that goes through an analog filter, and it has a ADSR envelope, a cycling envelope, a single LFO, polyphonic aftertouch, an unusual keyboard, etc. I've done a full review. I think it's actually linked in the description, so you can click on that if you want to get more in depth on that, but I just wanted to touch base on it. Then what this does is it adds a second oscillator. You can see that here. It adds effects, which is kind of a big deal. It also adds a second LFO, and the cycling envelope here can do a few things that the cycling envelope in the MicroFreak couldn't do. It's got some different settings, things like that, whatever. It's just a little more, slightly more in depth, basically the same. The ADSR envelope is pretty much the same. You do have separate decay and release parameters, which can be a big deal for some people, I know. That's different. The MicroFreak shares the decay and the release are the same. And then, yeah, 2 LFOs, which can either be run free or be re-triggered by any of these things. Timing wise, you can mess with all that stuff. Sync or unsynced. Yeah. And that's basically the difference there. 6 voices. This over here shows you can. I think that's got a chord mode. You can lock it to a scale. Yeah, but otherwise it's very similar to. Oh, it does have this LFO shaper. That's actually kind of interesting. You can basically create your own LFO shapes in here. To use on your LFOs, which is kind of neat. And you just go to the shaper, which is the last option, and you can just draw an LFO and get it up here. So that's pretty cool. That's definitely a big add. Same here, right? Just LFO1, LFO2. Tweak the grid length, rate, yada yada. Okay, I'm kind of going out of order here. Okay, so much like the MicroFreak, we start here with the hey Rebite, hey Swarm. Welcome both of y'all, and the other. This is a big turnout for me, 6 whole people in here. So thanks everyone for coming. Okay, so let's get into this. We start with the oscillator, which is really, it's a synth engine. It's not just a simple oscillator, but I don't really need to get too deep into that, what arguably the difference is. But these should look pretty familiar if you are a user of the MiniFreak, because they are, with a few exceptions, identical. So basic wave, super wave, Harmo, Carplus Strong, V analog, wave shaper, 2-up FM, formant, speech, modal, noise, bass or bass, sax, harm. Okay, to that point, everything is the same. What you might have noticed is that the wavetable option, which is normally somewhere in here, is down here. And there's only one wavetable. As I recall, it is not you can't put your own wavetables in. So there's no user wavetables in this yet. Obviously they could add it to some point in the future. Let's see, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 32 wavetables, okay? But no way to load your own as far as I know. If I'm wrong, someone can feel free to correct me. Hey, Professor. How's it going? Yeah, it's the LFO wave shaper is definitely I will put it in the category of things I have yet to use. Let's just say that. It's a pretty wild idea. It's very cool. It lets you do some pretty unusual modulations for sure. You can probably even fake like chaotic modulations and stuff by using two of them and modulating each other, and yeah, pretty cool stuff. Okay, so let's get before we get distracted here. It's also got the sample oscillators. Now the MicroFreak has 3 granular oscillators, and this has 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are all different granular oscillators. So it does have 3 extra granular oscillators. The other thing it has that the MicroFreak does not is an audio in, and you can pipe in audio from in the DAW, you can pipe in audio from... In hardware, you have an input. In the DAW, you can pipe it in from various different sources within the DAW. I have not messed much with that. We're not going to mess much with it today, just because it's kind of its own whole thing of using this as an effects processor. At some point, I will do I'll do a stream on just this particular feature. It's worthy of its own feature. Right now, just know that it exists. And it is different from the MicroFreak. And then, yeah, the cloud grains, hit grains, frozen grains, scamp. These are all just different ways of doing granular stuff. You pick different samples here, robots. Right, so different. Different ways of just accessing the grains for different sorts of effects. Like hit grains, for example. As you might guess from the name, good for percussive sounds. Cloud grains. Probably better for pad-like sounds, depending on the wave that you're using with them too, right? I don't know what the heck that is. Anyway, so that's sort of the differences. And then the second oscillator, we'll get some more differences in here. Let's go back to basic waves on this. It basically has all the same ones, but once you get down here, it's got FM and ring modulation. So you can basically modulate oscillator 1 with so if you only want to hear the FM version, for example, that's just the FM'd one, right? Okay. Yeah. Also does ring mod. Turn that down. Really, we would want to make this have a different pitch so you can hear the ring mod. Yeah. And then you also have multi-filter, which is a selectable, so you have cutoff, resonance, and a mode here, which goes between low pass 36, 24, 12, low pass 6, so 6 to 36, so 1 to 6 poles, right? So it's 1 pole, 2 pole, 4 pole, 6 pole. And then you have a high pass 6, high pass 12, high pass 24, high pass 36, band pass 12, 24, 36, notch 12, 24, 36. So I think this is Arturia's kind of default filter, which is to say the same filter that is on the Pigments as its default filter. It does not have a drive control. So there's that. But otherwise, yeah, I think it's pretty much the same filter. The surgeon filter is a very sharp filter that's like figure out how this goes. Nope. Oh, I see. Spread must be for different, yeah, band pass. So you can really choke a sound out with the surgeon filter. Right, it'll just completely ice it out, or cut a really sharp notch out of it. That's where the spread comes in, like how wide is that notch or whatever. I think it's maybe somewhat similar to a resonance control, which you notice this does not have a resonance control. It's got a comb filter. Ooh, comb filter, neat. Cool, cool. A phaser filter, which is kind of like a comb filter. Comb filter is more like a flange, I want to say, but let's use a phaser as a filter, basically, which is fun. And destroy, which is a on the hardware, I think you get a cool little frog exploding animation for this, which sadly you don't get here, but this is a bit crusher and folder. So you got sample reduction, some wave folding, and bit crushing. You can bit crush it all the way down to 1 bit, right? So it's just an ugly ass square wave, no matter what you're feeding it in. And as you can see here, this kind of acts as a balance. If you turn the volume of this one down, you just get the free, unfiltered sound here. And if you can mix the two by setting the volume there. And that's the way that works on the ones that are modifying. So if you choose any of these first, now you can't choose everything, for example. It looks like, for example, you can only have one wavetable, one sample, one granular oscillator, and then a second oscillator. You have a slightly limited selection. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So these 15 options, which is still a lot of options, just let you double up whatever's on the first oscillator, and then these remaining 6, 8 options, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, yep, 6, let you modulate, modify, affect the signal coming in from oscillator 1. So the first 15 are just like, yep, here's the second oscillator type. So for example, again, going back to comparing it to the Freak, or the MiniFreak, MicroFreak, they're all freaks in the best possible way. Is to, if you always wanted to take the basic waves and add more basic waves, or if you wanted to make a granular cloud with, like the wave shaper or the format, which itself is a kind of weird granular thing. You can now do that without having to layer it up in your DAW or whatever. So that's kind of cool. So the filters, bandpass, low pass, bandpass, high pass. It's supposed to essentially, it's modeled after the one in the MicroFreak. So SEM style filter. I don't know if you can get this to self-resonate. Looks like you can. Rings out right at this last, like, from 95 up, it looks like. Guess it. Yeah. So if you are into ringing your filters, pinging your filters. You can do that in here to some degree. I mean, I've not experimented with it heavily. I doubt it's the best environment to do that in. I have to admit that is one thing I definitely prefer analog filters for, is pinging. Not to say you can't get some interesting effects pinging a digital filter, but I do think analog actually has an advantage there. Yeah, so the FX, this is not present at all on the Micro, obviously, but here you have pretty standard selection of effects. One notable thing, you probably noticed when I was going through the different oscillator types that there is not a vocoder oscillator type, but this does have a vocoder. It just moves it to the effects section. And I'm pretty sure, again, like I say pretty sure because I'm just using my ears. I'm not, and looking around see if I can find information that contradicts it or supports it. If I say I'm pretty sure, it means I didn't find anything to contradict it, but I also didn't find anything to support it. The information may be out there, but anyway, point being, I'm pretty certain that these are just Arturia's standard effects, what you would call, like the normal stuff that they put on in Pigments, for example, or as the effects on any of the V collection synths. These are all the same effects, I think. Like, why reinvent the wheel, right? And so you have two vocoder options, a self vocoder where you can, like, I think you can feed it like one oscillator to the other or something like that. I don't know exactly what's going on here. Again, not mess with it. I'm not a vocoder guy, really, when you come right down to it. So that release is ridiculous. Now, one thing you might notice here is that the release times, all the numbers are they're just numbers. They're not time. That's a little annoying, honestly. You get really spoiled on digital synths in particular. It's just nice to see everything expressed in milliseconds and whatever, but it's not any different than, again, the MicroFreak. The hardware version does not display times. I assume the MiniFreak hardware version doesn't display times in terms of milliseconds. A lot of hardware synths don't. Sometimes software synths don't. I'm just a little spoiled with it. But yeah, anyway. So this just shows, you can do your mono, unison, poly, and paraphonic modes. The paraphonic mode in hardware lets you get 12 voices out, but they share, like, each two share a filter or something like that. In hardware, I don't even know that you need to do that, because you can stack up multiple instances of the synth on different tracks or whatever if you need more voices for something. But it's there so it can mirror the hardware. LFOs we looked at briefly already, but yeah, the interesting thing here is that they have this LFO shaper that lets you do some wild custom LFOs, but otherwise they're pretty standard LFOs. Arturian. Okay, so I actually have, I don't have the physical version of, oh, that's cool. Professor Whom says they were going to add user wavetable soon, back in December 2024. Yeah, well, I mean, maybe we'll get it this year. Who knows? Or maybe we'll get it next year. Or maybe it came out and I didn't hear about it. I don't know. So I don't actually have the physical version of the MiniFreak. I have the MicroFreak, and the MiniFreak I only have in software. So I can't say what the differences are, but my understanding is the differences are essentially none. That it is a one-to-one recreation. That the difference is really just that this does not have an analog filter. Obviously, I think that goes without saying, but just in case it does not go without saying, let me say it explicitly. There's no analog filter on this all-digital software synth. But Arturian synth is definitely a subgenre of dungeon synth, sorry. But yes. Otherwise, yeah, I think this is pretty much identical. And the intention is that this is actually the programmer. If you have the hardware version, this comes with it, which is pretty cool. And you can use it as a programmer for the hardware version, which is very cool. If you like programming your sounds on software instead of hardware, you have that option. Here's the sequencer. You got 4 tracks to program knobs, macros, anything. So that's cool. It's got a lot. Sequencer's got a lot of features. It's a pretty full-featured sequencer, for sure. And we're not going to get too much into that again because it's maybe just a little bit beyond the scope of not the stream in general, but this particular stream, which is we're just trying to introduce it. See, we're already a half hour in. We barely played a sound yet. Okay. Here's the mod matrix. Very similar to what you see on the MicroFreak. The interesting difference here, you have velocity, aftertouch, or both for this line. So you can kind of tune how you want your key response to be, which is smart actually because velocity tends to bleed into aftertouch. Anyone who has used velocity on a keyboard synth with aftertouch knows that very often when you really hammer that key down, you trigger the first, at least a little bit of the aftertouch. It depends on how sensitive it is. Yeah, Professor Whom, I didn't think that there was user wavetables, but sometimes like in a software synth, there's like, you can just, like drag and drop it in and people don't even mention that that's a thing you can do. Like in Pigments, you can just do something similar to that. And then the wavetable synth in Ableton, you can just drag a sample in. And it is mentioned in the manual, but it's easy to miss, if you're like, well, how do I load my own wavetables? Well, you just drag a sample in and it becomes a wavetable. I don't think that this does that, but sometimes there is that's a feature and just no one bothered to mention it to me. You got an on-screen keyboard if that's something that's useful to you. These macros are interesting. So the MicroFreak did not have a mod wheel of any sort. It had a little touch strip that you could use to control the pitch bend or the sequencer. And this has these 2 mod strips that can be set as pitch and mod wheel, macros 1 and 2, or as sequencer controls. So that's pretty cool. And you just push a button on the hardware version to determine which, and here you just select which one it is. And each one of them has some... Oh, I'm sorry. That's just for vibrato. It looks like there's a dedicated vibrato LFO as well, which is kind of cool. And you can activate that by using the mod wheel, turning it on here. Set the rate, depth, and you can also set the bend range there. So, how do I make this go away? Go away. Oh, there we go. Boop. And the macros, you can set. You see when I click that, it lets me highlights all the different things. So we could say, all right, so that goes to the timbre, which is decimate on this one. And you can set a depth here. And you can set this, set it to here. Depth or negative depth here. So very easy to use, right? Yeah, cool stuff. All right, now let's hear some sounds. Just go to all. Let's see what's that. It's kind of cool. So this is one I made. Kind of a Boards of FM style cinematic lo-fi pad. I think this is another one I made. Yep, this is another one I made. Oh, I see. This is just going through my... No, it's not. It's not. This is not one I made. You can see down here, here's the mod matrix shows you both what is active and how much. So that's really cool at a glance. Oh, maybe these are these all mine? I guess I'm in my user bank here. Yep, these are all mine. Never mind. So these are all sounds I made, which is cool. I mean, that's... Let me get out of this user bank so that we can... Not that I'm not proud of my presets, but we should probably look at least some of the ones that come with. So it's not just a referendum on my programming skills, but also like what... Okay. Also on what the synth can actually do. Sure. And these mod strips can be, as you can see, like I think you can set them to either like remember or not. But maybe not. Maybe it's always remember. But these are a pretty cool feature because you can put them on anything, right? Anything you want. So, really nice control feature. I think that's supposed to be some kind of bass sound. Little sequence. That's a sequence. So, considering how much content I do about programming stuff, I'm sure you'll all be shocked to hear I don't use a lot of presets. I have gone through these presets to some degree, but I didn't even really mark any as being like favorites or whatever. I think this is another one I made. Is it? It is. Synth flute. And so this one's set to paraphony. So, okay, when you use the paraphonic mode, I guess you don't get the second oscillator. Interesting. Some nice distorted, almost dubstep-y sounds. Okay, let's see. Get a little sequence play in and just switch between some sounds here. This sequence is nothing special. It's literally just something I threw together in 5 seconds. There you go. what that one's doing. Oh, there we go. It's granular and noise mixed together. So yeah, I mean, we could sit here and listen to presets all day. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, so there's a handful of presets. Let's go ahead and look at mine. So this also uses the Arturia sort of design language, software language that Analog Lab uses it, Pigments uses it, all the V collection stuff uses it. So you can, various different ways to sort, highlight, make favorites, etc. I haven't screwed with too much of that, but you can. One of the things you can do is if you make sure and tag stuff with your name, it'll be in your user bank, and you can find it, and that's handy. So let's just go through some. Yeah, it's like I said, a kind of a lo-fi cinematic pad. This is a lead sound. Here, actually, let's go through. Oop, no. Okay, so this is Saw X. That's a super saw. That's noise engineering super saw with some basic waves. Nothing too. Got flanger, delay, and reverb. LFO, look like I used the shaper on this for LFO2. Created this weird wave shape. It's positive only. LFO1 is, looks like it's a slewed sample and hold. Okay, right? So. And I've got a looping cycling envelope, and you can see it's in the run mode, so it's just running all the time, much like an LFO, a free running LFO would. Switch that to loop. It re-triggers when you hit the key. Run just goes. Or maybe run? Oh, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I swear one of these is supposed to not re-trigger, but I don't know. Big dumb saw. Basic waves with a super wave. And then for effects, got multiband compression, chorus, and delay. The multiband compressor is really handy, honestly. Dungeon bass. So this is only single oscillator. This one is not doing anything. The volume's turned all the way down. Just a nice wave shaper bass. This is a kind of a junky electric piano sound. It's a super wave and the bass bass thing. So I started this project to make percussion sounds with every one of the engines, and this is one of those. Here's a little pluck. And this pluck, this is the two of the noise engineering. And so here we got the super wave going through this bit crusher to give like a lo-fi 8-bit super saw stacked square waves weird sound. This is a super low end bass, kind of a respace. Uses the noise engineering oscillator, a little detuning, and the harmonic oscillator, so additive, a bunch of additive stuff going on there. A hi-hat sound, as again, that's part of that percussion. Oh, so this uses the FM section. It uses, again, I really like these noise engineering oscillators, obviously, but then it runs it through some FM. And oh, here we go. Got to make a Hoover, right? Hey, Scott, thanks for coming by. Yeah, if you want to catch the rest of this, then it'll be available as Grindel. Sorry, Grindel bass, as in Grindel from Beowulf. It's a literary reference, if you will. So it's a scary monster bass, right? So if Grindel from the Beowulf was a dubstep DJ, dubstep producer, that's the kind of bass that Grindel would use. That's the Hoover, but yeah, that was the idea with the Grindel, Grindel bass. That Hoover actually makes a good, scary low-end bass too. This was for processing incoming sounds. I don't have a setup, so we'll just skip that one. It's another one of those percussion sounds. Uses the Car Plus Strong. Bass sound. Like a cool evolving synth sound. Swirly pad. So someone had asked about a randomizer. Is there a randomizer? I cannot remember if there is or not. Macros, MIDI settings. I also like randomizers. I have not messed with this one. Yeah, no randomizer. No randomizer, which is a shame. It is a fun feature to have. This does not have that, though. Here's a choir. This uses the granular plus the speech oscillator. You have sort of almost like a tortured mellotron choir. Like a heavily processed mellotron, maybe. Shroom pad. This is just supposed to be real weird. So we got the some granular stuff, the surgeon filter, a little bit of filter here too. Looks like the surgeon filter's going nuts. We've got it on the bandpass. Yeah, it's just moving around doing a bunch of crazy stuff. More percussion. Uses noise. Classic, right? More percussion. This one uses the super wave and a comb filter. Down low, it's like a unstable bass. Up high, it's kind of a growly lead. Just a key sound. And that's probably one of the first bass sounds I made. It's called Yeah Basic. And that's it. That's what I've made so far. Let's get a default new preset, right? And we can make a sound really quick. Yeah, I think I've heard of Grindel. But I am not familiar with their work necessarily, other than perhaps by name. Geez, this tour went a lot faster than I expected. I'm going to try and make a sound. If anyone has any ideas... oh, you know, one real quick before... I guess maybe I can try and do it while I'm multitasking here. Let's try the... Harmo, sure, why not? One thing I want to note about this, so if you were thinking about getting this in software, I would actually highly recommend that you buy the collection, the V collection, because I actually bought the V collection in part because I really wanted this synth. This is the main thing I was after. I don't get super into most of the emulations. I'm just not a emulated synth kind of guy. I'd rather have like the actual thing. But they're pretty cool, I have to admit, as a nice bonus for buying this. So I want to say I paid $149, but maybe it was $199 for the V collection, because I already own a bunch of Arturia products, and it is, if you already own Arturia products, it is definitely worth logging into and have registered them. It's not too late to register them, by the way. If you've never registered them, set up an account and register it, and then log into your Arturia account and see what your price is. Because, yeah, I think V Collection right now is $199 if you already have some Arturia stuff, and like $299 otherwise, or maybe it's $199 even if you don't. I'm not entirely sure, but sales are happening right now, and you can definitely check and figure it out. But yeah, what I was going to say is, if you want the V collection, this is an amazing synth to get as part of it. If you already have this synth in hardware, obviously, then you get the software version with that. If you're thinking about buying this in hardware, I think it is probably an incredible synth to get in hardware. If you are buying it for software only, one word of warning: if you don't already own Pigments, just get Pigments instead. Pigments can do pretty much everything this soft version of this can. And if you're both going to be dealing with it in software anyway, I think you'd probably be happier with Pigments overall. But if you, like I said, hardware-wise, I don't think there's much that can compare with this other than the original MicroFreak. So, and this is obviously bigger, better than all that. So, I wonder if we can get some. Let's use both the Harmo and the Harm. Let's see if we can get some. So I'm just going to make a quick bell sound is what I'm doing here. So let's see. So go down to the matrix envelope to there we go. So I clicked on the slot that I want to use, and I'm going to put it on this noise, and we're going to say envelope to noise, oscillator 2 shape, right? That's what we're talking about here. Get a little burst of noise on the that quickly drops off along with the rest of the tone too, but and actually, you know what, we're also going to say, I'm just going to do that envelope to that as well. Okay, right, and then cycling envelope is set to also be an envelope, so we will set it rise curve, fall curve, yep, percussive, and cycling envelope also, let's have it add a little bit of this as well. This is oscillator 1 shape, so it's the chorusing, this last one. And So when I make bell-like sounds, I like to have them have longer release than decay. So the idea being, like, if you strike a bell and leave the striker on the bell, it'll actually dampen the bell ringing out. But if you lift it off, it'll ring out, right? So it lets you play it in a realistic. So if I press the button and hold down, we get a pretty short decay. If I just get something more bell-like. Preset name, yeah, no harm done. Unfiltered Audio Lion. What is that? What is the Unfiltered Audio Lion? I've never heard of that. I don't know what that is, but I'm intrigued because it sounds cool as fuck. We're going to have this filter opened up by both the envelopes. And let's use the LFO on something. We'll have that go to the content, which is to say the first, and we'll have the second one going to, oops, on oscillator 2's, how about rectify? Put that over here, rectify, boom. LFO 2. We're actually going to have both of those free running. Triangle, slewed, sample, and hold. See? Bells. Bells. So what kind of effects should we put on our bell? Chorus? Nah, I don't know about that. Maybe a little bit of bit crushing. This gives us a little grit and aliasing sparkle, right? Maybe some delay, sure. Digital sync, a bunch of different delay options here. Yeah, that sounds good. And sure, we'll just put some reverb on it. Put it in a hall, make the decay relatively short. Okay, right? So we've used cycling envelope, LFO, velocity and aftertouch. We're gonna send that to the we can give it a little bit of that, and then also maybe what else? What if we give it a little bit of the noise too, which is oscillator 2 shape. So you can, if you hit it a little harder, or hold it down, you get a little bit of that. And then, yeah, so we could add wheel and keyboard tracking as well. I don't really have anything off the top of my head that I want to do it, and we are just about out of time. So I think that's pretty good. I mean, as you can see, if you have something in mind, oops, probably should turn that last one on. You can come up with a sound really quick. I didn't really have anything in mind until I was just like, oh, let's use the harmonic oscillators and make a bell sound, which is easy peasy. And we will save preset as, let's change this to me. This is kind of, this description area here is pretty handy. I did it to a lot of, I use it on a lot of my presets. I try and use it all the time. I don't, it depends on how lazy I'm feeling when I am saving sounds. But I do try and use it as much as possible because I don't always remember what the hell I had in mind when I come back to a patch later. And here you can put some notes and tell yourself what the hell you were thinking when you were creating the sound in the first place. Right? So if I had taken the time to actually set up all the macros and stuff, which I did not, I would probably make a note here of what each macro does. This macro opens the filter, this macro does that, or it adds grit, adds more effects, changes the effects, increases the decay, whatever it is, right? Oh, I saved the stupidest default. God, I'm so stupid. Let's see, can I actually fix this here? I can. So the name can be changed. Right, there we go. Save file, save preset. Okay, so now it's got an actual name. And yeah, that's in an hour. That hour flew by. I apologize if I did not spend my time wisely. Sure, man. Fun on the Autobahn, yeah? Farn. Not fun, farn. Flanger is always good. Dual oscillator software synth to MiniFreak V. Oh, okay. Dual oscillator software synth. Cool, man. That sounds cool. Unfiltered audio lion. Huh. Yeah, no, I'll have to check that out. I do try and keep the number of synths that I actually use to a pretty small number. Like, I bought the V collection mostly because it to buy just this synth would have been like $100, and so for like another $50 or $100, I can't remember. Hold on, let me check my email. I'll tell you what I paid for. I think I have this receipt here still, so I can probably. There it is. Yeah, $149. I paid $149 for this. So, and right now, if you're just a guy, so let's see, I'm not logged in. Am I logged in? I'm not. Okay, sorry, I know you guys can't even see what I'm doing over here, but what I'm trying to do is get you a price. So it looks like V collection is $349 right now if you don't own any Arturia products. That's 11 Pro, so that actually comes with 45 synthesizers. It's a lot. Pigments is $99 right now. I'm not sure. I don't even know. It's possible that the MiniFreak V is not even on sale as a solo instrument. $649 for the hardware version. There it is, MiniFreak V. Pretty certain you can buy this separately, but it doesn't seem to have. This is still on its. Still has the price for this thing here. I know the MiniFreak V is not $649. That would be very silly. But yeah, if you, I mean, for $149, if you were interested in this, you could consider it a bundle with this and the other, bunch of synthesizers for free. Although again, if you don't have pigments and you're looking to spend some money, I'd just get pigments probably. Unless, you need the other scents from the V collection, If I had not had pigments, I would have just bought that, but I do have pigments. And if you are already an Arturia customer, definitely make sure that you're logged in before you're trying to buy anything, because you get way better deals. If I was buying pigments right now, it would be $69, for example. 28 pounds at the moment. All right, cool. Audio line. Yeah, Logic is $200, right? And it comes with a ton of killer scents, so also an option. I did briefly consider at one point picking up Logic, but I'm pretty committed to sticking with Ableton. I've been using it for on and off for a long time, and I just don't really feel a desire to learn another DAW, especially when Ableton pretty much does that. I almost never run into the wall in Ableton where I'm like, oh, I want to do something and I don't know how to do it, or I can't figure out how to do it, or the DAW just does not seem to want to do it. So I have not. Yeah, for sure. Without the discount, it's kind of silly, but the price is like whatever, $650 or whatever it is. But I mean, I think right now the sale price, if you don't own anything at all, is like $349, which for 45 synthesizers is, what does that come down? That's like less than $10 per, right? So pretty good deal. But only if you want them all. If there's only two you want, then it's probably not that great of a deal. For me, I really wanted to get my hands on the MiniFreak V. And then there's also the SQ80 emulation, the CZ101 emulation. I was interested in both of those. I've used an ESQ one extensively, and the CZ101 was one of the first synths I ever owned. And then since I actually got it, I've found there's a lot of surprisingly cool stuff. Like, I would have thought that the Synclavier sim was kind of pointless. I don't know why I thought that, but I did. But then I was playing with it, and it's actually really freaking cool. And it's just one that it just hadn't occurred to me that it would be cool. And like the DX7 one is not only a really good fake DX7, is good or better than DXED, but also has a bunch of features that neither DXED nor the original DX7 had. Maybe you hate that, I don't know, but I thought it was pretty cool. Anyway, it's a pretty good deal. I do have the V Collection 11, so if anyone wants to see any of the other scents from it as part of this series, let me know. If we have time to, I would definitely do another sequence or another stream on this one. But anyway, yes, the album, I do remember that. That is a very cool album. Yeah, the French guy, he did it was two built-in Ableton plugins. It was Operator and Echo is what it was. And I think that the album is called something like Echo or Operator Echo or something. It's very similar to that. Frank Zappa was a huge Synclavier booster, whatever. He did all of his stuff in that. He played guitar too, but that's how he programmed and created all of his music once it was a thing. That's actually was my introduction. One of my introductions to it as well was Frank Zappa. I'm not a huge Zappa fan, but he had done an interview in Keyboard Magazine back in the 90s talking about it, and I was reading about it then, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool as hell. But for whatever reason, I think because I think of it mostly as a sample player, when it came out or when I got the software version, I was just like, well, it's just like a lo-fi sample player, right? But it's not. It's also an FM synth, additive synth, does crazy resynthesis stuff. It's a very cool synth. Anyway, okay, enough of that. Enough of this. I hope this is a pretty good introduction to the MiniFreak V. I know it wasn't the most organized thing. I was just vibing. I did not work off a script or anything. But if you have questions that didn't get answered in this, please ask them in the comments and I'll leave an answer. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. We'll look at another synth next week. Maybe we'll look at pigments. And I've done a lot of pigments stuff, I know, but it's probably worth just taking a hard look at it, and so people can evaluate if it's something that they want to own. And you probably, if you own soft synths at all, I think you should own pigments. That's my thought process on it. But okay, enough of this, enough of that. Thank you everyone for coming and watching and chiming in with thoughts. And